Hello, my dear friends. Hope you all are fine. Now I'm going to continue the breathing and exchange of gases mind map, my dear. So in this what we study right now. So in previous we study about the mechanisms of respiration, my dear. Now here the time to understand here what the way of respiration in human beings, my dear. Okay. So here now I'm going to start the breathing and exchange of gases and what the breathing and exchange of gases basically take place in human. This one is the very important thing to understand here, my dear. Okay. So let me start here, but before we have to start, hope so that everything is perfect and fine. So you all are welcome in test prep card, my dears. So once again, so now I'm going to start this one thing. Okay. So what the thing is here in mind map, my dear, let's see here. When I'm saying about the exchange of gases, it means that what the transport of gases, my dear. Okay. So if I'm saying the transport of gases, it means what? Here the transport of gases, it means that the transport of oxygen, transport of carbon dioxide. But the thing is here to be important to note here that how this transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide is occurred within the body cells, my dear. Okay. So let me start from this one thing here. We just see first what we understand about this one. Let's see here. First we have to understand here the transport of gases, and in transport of gases, my dear, here we have to be understand through how the transportation. There you all know that the transportation will help with the help of what? Yes, body fluid. That very body fluid is what? Blood. And you all know that the blood has two parts, that is plasma and the formed elements, or you say the cellular elements. So in plasma, you know that about 3% blood, in blood plasma, how much about? There is 3%. And you all know that as oxyhemoglobin, about how much percent? 97%, my dear. So now the scene is here that how this oxygen transported within the blood cells. Yes or no? Because blood is also fluid connective tissue, my dear. So this one is thing that is very important to note here, that how the how the transportation of gases will take place to each and every part of the cell, my dear. Let me start from this one thing. But before we have to be come through this one transport of the gases, here also we have to be understand here the exchange of gases between blood and tissues, and between alveoli and blood, right? Now the question is here how it be sir performed. Let me see with the help of the NCERT. So before we have to go on NCERT, here there's something that is very important to know, my dear. Here that is how the respiration will take place in human, my dear. Okay. So let's see if anybody can ask you about the respiration in the human. Here the word transport of gases, my dear. What I'm saying here that transport of gases. So if I'm saying here that the transport of gases mainly occurred with the help of the word fluid connective tissue. So transport of the gases, what I'm writing here, it occurred with the help of with the help of what, my dear? Fluid connective tissue. What I'm saying, fluid connective tissue. And you all know that the fluid connective tissue is which one? Yes, that is what, my dear? Blood. That is what? Blood. And in the blood it consists of two parts, and you all know that blood consists of how many parts? Two parts, my dear. One is what? Plasma. Number one is what? Plasma, my dear. Okay. And second one is what? Formed elements. Second one is what? Formed elements. You all know formed elements. And this formed elements, my dear, what? That is first RBCs. Second one is what, my dear? WBCs. And third one is what? Platelets. Third one is what? Platelets, my dear. So these all are the formed elements. Okay. Now the question is here how the transport of gases will take place. Mainly you know that the oxygen binder, that is what, whom RBC. So O2 is transported with the help of RBC. O2 is what I am saying here, transported transported with how? RBCs, red blood cells, or you say the corpuscles, my dear. So oxygen is transported with the RBC. Now the question is here how, sir? So let me check through NCERT, my dear, how this will occur. Okay. Now see here the mechanisms of the breathing. Here we understand about how this mechanism of breathing, that is during breathing involves. You all know that two stages, my dear. One is what? Inspiration. Second one is what? Expiration, my dear. Okay. So let me start from this one thing, how the inspiration and expiration will take place, my dear. Okay. So let's check here. The two thing is here very important to understand here, that how the inspiration and expiration will take place, my dear. Okay. So let's see. Whenever I'm saying about this term inspiration, it means what? It means that taking off oxygens, my dear. Okay. And whenever I'm saying about the term expiration, it means what? It means that we exhale carbon dioxide. But now the question is here how this inspiration and expiration will take place. Okay. So let's see. If I'm saying here about this one thing, that inspiration, it means what? During inspiration, with atmospheric air is drawn in. Atmospheric air, it means that that very air is what? Mixture of gases. And mixture of gases, whenever I'm saying that gases contain nitrogen, also oxygen, also carbon dioxide gases, also each and everything gases will be there, and that very gases is what? Very important for all of us, my dear. Yes. So that's why I'm saying here that mainly the exchange of gases will take place during inspiration. But now in the question we in what? Expiration. What we understand here expiration, my dear. In expiration, it means what? Here the alveolar air is what? Released out. What I'm saying? Released out. It means that whenever we intake of their oxygen, not only we take oxygen, we take all the rest other gases also. So during inspiration, all the gases whenever we take, that time only the oxygen goes diffuse within the body cells, and basically you know that the oxygen is required to decompose the food whatever we eat, my dear. Okay. So here I'm saying that the movement of air into and out of the lungs is carried out by creating a pressure against gradient, my dear. And this pressure against gradient will be occurred with the help of their what? The lungs. That the lungs is an important organ for the exchange of gases here. Okay. Now second thing that is important to understand here, that how the pressure within the lungs built. Here the pressure, whenever I'm saying that the pressure is with their what? Intrapulmonary pressure. What I'm saying, intrapulmonary pressure. So this intrapulmonary pressure is what? Less than the what? Atmospheric pressure, my dear. So if I'm saying here that whatever the pressure within the lungs is less than the atmospheric pressure. Clear? So whenever the pressure within the lungs is less than the atmospheric pressure, there is negative pressure in the lungs. There is what type of pressure? Negative pressure, my dear, with respect to atmospheric pressure. So during expiration, there is what? Intrapulmonary pressure is what? Higher than the atmospheric pressure, my dear. This one is very important line. So during expiration, which one is higher than the atmospheric pressure? Yes, intrapulmonary pressure is what? Higher, my dear, than the atmospheric pressure. So in the meanwhile, the diaphragm and a specialized set of muscles also, my dear, external and internal intercostal muscles also have what? Help in the generation of such gradient, my dear. Now the thing is here very important to understand that how this contraction of external intercostal muscle lifts, my dear. Okay. So during this time, external intercostal muscle lift up the ribs and the what? Sternum, causing an increase in the volume of the thoracic chamber in the dorsoventral axis, my dear. So this one is important line to understand here, that how this sternum cause an increase in the volume of thoracic chamber. So you know that whenever we intake that very air, that very air is what? That very air increase the capacity of the lungs chamber, so that the lungs chamber filled with the airs, and meanwhile that air contain oxygen goes diffuse within the alveolar, my dear. So overall increase in the thoracic chamber, thoracic volume causes a similar increases in pulmonary volume also. So once the thoracic volume goes increases, in the same way the increase in the pulmonary volume also, my dear. Okay, so now see here, whenever the air entering the lungs, see here, whenever the air entering into the lungs, in this time ribs and sternum raise. What I'm saying, ribs and sternum what raised, my dear. So once the ribs and sternum raised, then the volume of the thorax also goes increases, my dear. So in that time, you always keep in mind that the diaphragm, what, my dear, contracted. So if the diaphragm contracted, it means that what, the volume of the thorax goes increases, right? This one is important thing. Now the question is here, how this intrapulmonary pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. You know that when the forces of the air from outside move into the lungs, that is inspiration. So during the inspiration, this intrapulmonary pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure. So if the intrapulmonary pressure is less than the atmospheric pressure, then at that moment air from outside move into the lungs. Air from outside move into the lungs. And whenever this air from outside move into the lungs, then it is termed as what, inspiration, my dear, right? Now, there are some cases that is what, vice versa. During expiration, you all know that during expiration, a relaxation of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, my dear. So once the intercostal muscles goes what, relaxes, then the diaphragm and the sternum to their normal position and reduce the thoracic volume, my dear. So once the thoracic volume goes what, decreases, thereby the pulmonary volume also goes what, my dear, increases. Okay, so this leads to the increase in intrapulmonary pressure. Here the increment of which one thing, the increment of the intrapulmonary pressure, my dear. This intrapulmonary pressure once goes increases to slightly above the atmospheric pressure, causing the expulsion of the air from the lungs, my dear. That is expiration. So this one is the important line here to understand. During expiration, let's see this one diagram. The air, what I'm saying, the air that is move out from the lungs. So once the air move out from the lungs, my dear, expelled from the lungs, then that time ribs and sternum return original position. What I'm saying, ribs and sternum return to which one position, original position. And once the ribs and sternum return to its original position, then the volume of the thorax were decreased, my dear. What I'm saying, yes, you are right. The volume of the thorax goes decreases. And once if the volume of the thorax goes decreases, the diaphragm also relaxed and become arched. See this one diagram. See this one diagram. So this one is the what? The air expelled from the lungs during the what, inspiration, and what, expiration, my dear. Okay. So see, during inspiration, what the things is to be here, what the things is to be here it means that during inspiration ribs and sternum raised, volume of the thorax increased. Once the what, expiration, diaphragm relaxed and arced upward. So it means here that the volume of thorax decreased and the ribs and the sternum return to its what, original position, my dear. So this one is the what, antagonistic, or you say the vice versa during inspiration or expiration, my dear. Now here the question that how the increase the strength of inspiration and expiration with the help of muscles. Yes or no? That very muscles in the abdomen which is responsible for what, increase the strength of inspiration as well as what, expiration, my dear. Okay, so this one is very important line. So on an average, you know that healthy human breathe how much times, 12 to 16 times per minute, my dear. So in a 1 minute, the healthy human what, breathe at least how much, 12 to 16 times. Yes, absolutely, you're right. So the volume of the air involved in the breathing movement can be estimated by using a spirometer. So see, here one of the term is very important here, spirometer. Spirometer is an instrument which is helpful in clinical assessment of pulmonary function. So now I'm going to write in a slide also that spirometer. See, this one is very important line, so that's why I'm saying to you here. See here, which one instrument is spirometer, my dear. Okay, so this one is a spirometer, is an instrument which is used to measure the pulmonary functions, my dear. Pulmonary, the exchange of gases will take place. Okay, getting my point? Let's see here. If anybody can ask you which one instrument which can estimated by what clinical assessment of pulmonary function, then what you say? You say here that a spirometer. So a spirometer is an instrument which is responsible to check the clinical assessment of pulmonary function. So see, here the two diagrams that is basically responsible for the mechanisms of breathing. So during the mechanisms of breathing, here the two thing is important here. One is what inspiration, second one is what expiration. Now the question is here. Now the question is here, sir, respiratory volume and capacities. So whenever during inspiration or expiration, what the respiratory volume and their capacities, this one is important point to understand here. Okay, so let's check here. One first thing that is very important to know. First one is that is what tidal volume. So if anybody can ask you about this one tidal volume, then what you reply? You will say there that the volume of air inspired or expired. See what I'm saying. Whatever the volumes, just I'm marking here the terms. Volumes of air inspired or expired during normal respiration. Suppose I'm sitting here, I'm teaching right now. So in this meantime, what I'm doing, I'm respiration doing or not? Yes, definitely, sir. You are doing respiration as well as breathing also. So here, what I'm saying here that whatever the volume of air inspired or expired during normal respiration, it's approx how much milliliter, my dear? That is 500 milliliter. Okay, so you know that that is a healthy person can inspire or expire approximately 60,000, my dear, sorry, 6,000 to 8,000 milliliter of air per minute, my dear. This one is important line. Clear? Clear? Now I'm going to repeat here the tidal volume word. The tidal volume is such a volume, it means that during inspiration or expiration, a normal human body, or you say the healthy human body, can inspire or expire approximately 6,000 to 8,000 milliliter of of air per minute, my dear. So whatever this expiration or inspiration during breathing, or you say the respiration, my dear, that very volume is known as what? Tidal volume. Getting my point? So approximately the value is here is what? 6,000 to 8,000. So this one is very important point to be note here. Just you have take out your copy and write down this one thing also. Now the second thing, here is dear what? The second thing is here that inspiratory reserve volume, that is IRV. So whenever I'm saying here that the inspiratory reserve volume, it means what? Inspiratory reserve volume, it means that additional volume of air. What I'm saying? Additional volume of air. So once the additional volume of air, it means that a person can inspire by a forcible inspiration. See, in this way. In this way, if any person can do, this one is said to be the inspiratory reserve volume. In this meanwhile, the average 2,500 milliliter to 3,000 milliliter, my dear. Okay. Now, the next thing, that is what? Expiratory reserve volume. Expiratory reserve volume in short way we represent ERV. Here, additional volume of air, whatever the volume of the air a person can expire by a forcibly expiration, then this average is how much? 1,000 milliliter to 1,100 milliliter, my dear. Okay. So this one is the important points that you must have to be know during inspiration or expiration, right? Now, second thing, that is what? Residual volume, that is RV we represent. What the meaning of RV, residual volume? It means that whatever the volume of air remaining in the lungs, remaining where? In the lungs, even after by the forcible expiration, even in this way, whenever the forcible expiration will take place, this average, there's some amount of the volume of air remain in the lungs, that is 1100 milliliter to 1200 milliliter, my dear. Okay, so this one is very important. Now next thing that is important to know here, inspiratory capacity, that is what IC, my dear. If anybody can ask you about this term, I see that is inspiratory capacity, then how you define this thing and how you just give this information about this inspiratory capacity. Let's see here. Here I am going to say you the total volume of air or person can inspire after a normal expiration. See what I'm saying here, that whatever the total volume of air of a person can inspire, and after a normal expiration, this includes the tidal volume and inspiratory reserve volume. That is TV, yani tidal volume, along with the what inspiratory reserve volume, and combined together, then it forms what inspiratory capacity. And you know that the inspiratory capacity is what different in different mammals, my dear. Okay, so whatever the total volume of air a person can inspire after a normal expiration, that is known as what inspiratory capacity, my dear. Okay, now the next thing that is important to understand here, that what expiratory capacity EC. So what do you mean by expiratory capacity? Expiratory capacity, it means that whatever the total volume of air, listen again what I'm saying, whatever the total volume of air a person can expire after a normal inspiration. Suppose if I'm here taking what normal inspiration, so here if I'm taking the normal inspiration, in this time whenever the person can expire after a normal inspiration, this includes the word tidal volume and respiratory reserve, my dear. Expiratory reserve volume, it means what, that the tidal volume along with the what expiratory reserve volume, then it is termed as what expiratory capacity. So again I'm repeating, whatever the expiratory capacity is totally depend on the volume of air a person can expire after a normal inspiration. Getting my point? So this one is the thing. Now another one, that is what functional residual capacity, that is FRC. FRC, it means that the volume of air that will remain in the lungs. Remain in the lungs. When this condition will occur? This condition will occur after a normal expiration, my dear. Okay. So during the normal expiration, the functional reserve volume capacity is here, and the normal inspiration, during normal inspiration, the here is what expiratory capacity, my dear. Okay. Now, second thing, that is second last thing, that is what vital capacity. Let's see here what the meaning of this vital capacity. Here, the vital capacity we see, it means what? The maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after a forced expiration. Suppose if I'm in this way, okay, so the maximum volume of air a person can breathe in after a forced expiration. This includes which one thing? ERV, expiratory reserve volume, TV, tidal volume, and IRV. What I'm saying? IRV, inspiratory reserve volume. These all combined together, or you say the maximum volume of air persons can breathe out after a forced inspiration, is known as vital capacity. Okay, so if anybody can ask you about the vital capacity, then you say there what? The maximum volume of air person can breathe in after a forced expiration is known as what? Vital capacity, my dear. Hope so this thing is clear. Now, the last one, that is what? Total lung capacity. If anybody can ask you about the total lung capacity, then what you say? At that time, you say there that the total volume of air accommodated in the lungs at the end of the forced inspiration. Suppose here I am the forced inspiration I'm doing here. So in this very include reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, and then after what? IRB, or you say the vital capacity, or along with the what? Residual volume, my dear. So these all are the very important things that to be noted here, right? Is that clear? Now, next thing, that is what? Exchange of gases. We all know that during inspiration or expiration, there is what? Exchange of gases will take place, my dear. Now, the question is here, how this exchange of gases will take place, right? So, see, if I am saying here that the exchange of gases will take place from the primary site alveoli, you know that the alveoli is what? Alveoli are the primary site of exchange of gases. So, if anybody can ask you, which are the primary site of exchange of gases, then what you say? Alveoli, my dear. So alveoli is a what? Nothing, it is a small bag or a sac like structures where mainly the exchange of gases will take place. So here exchange of gases also occur in between the blood and tissues, my dear. So see, if I'm saying here that the exchange of gases occur between the blood and tissues, then it means that here oxygen and carbon dioxides are exchanged in these sites by simple diffusion. What I'm saying? Simple diffusion. So simple diffusion is the method in which the mainly the oxygens and carbon dioxide are exchanged. Okay. Now here the pressure also contributed by a individual gas in mixture of gases called partial pressure, and that partial pressure is represented as PO2 for oxygen and PCO2 for carbon dioxide. Here it means that the pressure is what contributed by individual gas in a mixture of gases, my dear, is called partial pressure, and represented as what for oxygens and for what carbon dioxide, right? Here the data also given. Check here. Here the data also given that what the partial pressure in mm of Hg of oxygens and carbon dioxide at different parts involved in the diffusion in what comparison to those in what atmosphere. Let's see. Here the thing that is asking you that you have to be mark that very partial pressure in a meal, that is what the oxygens and carbon dioxide, because oxygen and carbon dioxide parts involved in the diffusion is comparison to those in atmosphere. Let's see here. The respiratory gases oxygen, atmospheric air 159. So alveoli how much? 104. So here the blood deoxygenated is how much? 40. Blood oxygenated is what? 95. So which one is the form also affected? That is what? Tissue, my dear. Getting my point? So this one is the thing. So now second thing that is important to understand here, that carbon dioxide's CO2, that is a respiratory gas, and atmospheric air 0.3, alveoli 40, blood deoxygenated 45, and blood oxygenated 40. So if we unite together, then it forms what? 45, and this very 45 air will, that is a filter air that is passed to there by different types of tissues, my dear. Is that clear? Now, here the diagrammatic representation of exchange of gases. So here, see how the exchange of gases will take place. This one is very important point to understand. So you know how the exchange of gases will take place. This exchange of gases will take place with the help of, in the same way that how the circulatory system will occur, my dear. Okay. So let's see here on the top, that is what lungs, and in the bottom, that is what body. So this one is the diagram I was also told in previous classes also, dear. Okay. So see, if anybody can ask you that how this one exchange of gases will take place, you can easily define there. Such exchange of gases can easily be take place with the help of the diagram. So whatever the diagram given in the biology, each and everything is completed. So the teachers is what also responsible to go through that very diagram and show their students that how this diagram is given here and what the relation of the gases along with the transportations, my dear. Okay. So, are you all ready to know here? Yes, if you are ready to know here, then I will continue. So, see, if I'm saying here that this one is the exchange of gases, my dear. So, this one exchange of gases is responsible for how the mainly gases will transported to each and every part of the cell. This one is very important point. Getting my point or no? So, see, here, this one is what on the top, that is what lungs, and this one is heart, this one is body. So whatever the oxygenated blood that passes through pulmonary vein to where? Where? This one is left auricle, left ventricle, always oxygenated blood. And here the systemic arteries that carries the blood towards where? Body organ, my dear. And after that, whatever the body organ receive that carbon dioxide, that passes through systemic vein. Where systemic vein? Inside the, yes, here this one is what? Systemic vein, and this systemic vein carry the deoxygenated blood to the heart, and after that the pulmonary artery carry deoxygenated blood into the alveolus, my dear. Okay. So here the blood come inside the heart at two times, so that's why here I'm saying what? Double circulatory system, my dear. Okay. This one is the important thing. Now, next thing, that is what, how these gases will transport, and these gases will transport with the help of their what, a small projections, that is villi, my dear. Okay, so this one is the thing that is we have to be discussed in short details of this mind map. When we move ahead, then we go through these all things line by line, my dear. Okay, so thank you for watching me. Thank you. Have a nice day. Take care.